How long does he last in that job?
After this report...
Does he make it to the start of the season?
It does not appear that he or Jeannie Buss should be involved in basketball decisions again, unless the personnel decisions were all Magic. And if that's the case, then Rob Pelinka has an option to stick around, because as was also detailed in the ESPN report, there was about 4 or 5 things that stood out, but personnel-wise, it may have been Magic Johnson's idea to surround LeBron James with arguably the most well-known class of NBA jokesters, guys like McGee.
JaVale
McGee. Guys
Super
like
cool bees.
Lance Stevenson.
Yeah.
Guys like Michael Beasley.
Yeah.
These guys are known knuckleheads.
Yep.
And you put them all on the same team with LeBron with no shooters around them and a young cast. A point guard in Lonzo who can't shoot. Rondo's not a great shooter at this point. Ingram's shot is still developing. So Kuz is your only shooter. And these questions were all asked by fans, by the media. It's been reported that Magic screwed this up. It's been reported that Luke Walton wanted to keep Brooke Lopez around. Brooke Lopez made more threes this year than Kobe Bryant ever did in a season. And he's got something like more blocks this year than anyone's ever had. Brooke Lopez is on an amazing track this year just as far as stats go. It's the modern NBA, obviously,
right,
for a center to do that. But Luke Walton wanted to keep him around. Magic decided not to. This report also looks pretty bad for Jeannie Buss.
If you're going to talk betrayal, it's only with Rob.
Well, yeah, but again, Rob was correct in bringing up how Magic was not around enough to make those decisions.
It's insane to me. You know, the Jazz 2 weeks ago re-signed Justin Zanuck to come in, or they promoted him technically from his role to being the official general manager of the Jazz, and Dennis Lindsey got a promotion. And because you didn't want to lose him to a place like the Lakers, but it's amazing they couldn't go out and find somebody like Justin Zanuck. I mean, even if you get... And Justin Zanuck's missed out on a couple of jobs. He's been the bridesmaid on a few different jobs now. Philly, Milwaukee, those were jobs that he got offered. And look, they ended up doing a pretty good job, clearly, because Philly made the playoffs and made a deep run, and Milwaukee made the playoffs and made a deep run. But he was the second guy in those jobs, so I'm sure he would have done a fine job as well. That the Lakers couldn't go out and recognize that there's talent out there like David Griffin, who's now had a very good, first 3 weeks, I guess, since he's been hired by New Orleans, that the Lakers couldn't actually land him, even with his connections to LeBron James. They couldn't go out and find a Justin Zanuck or a former player who actually has some sense of what's going on. That they screwed it up this badly is bizarre, and it makes me think they have to clean house. Now, the problem is Jeannie Buss is the boss, and she's a major part of the issue.
Okay, but we've heard this rumor before, but again, this was brought up in the interview that, in fact, in the expose, I should say, that Kurt Rambis and his wife are the shadow owners and the folks who are really running the organization. Because Rambis is tight with Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson and Jeannie have an on-again, off-again relationship. I believe maybe they're not dating anymore, but they certainly were, and they communicate regularly. Jeannie Buss is maybe third or fourth in line here, but she's taking the blame, which tells me that there's a lot of backstabbing going on because so many different areas of this team have been so poorly run. But I think the biggest aspect to come out of this is not necessarily the new information. It's that it's confirming all these reports throughout the season that the Lakers were in disarray, that Pelinka and Magic weren't getting along, that LeBron wasn't on the same page. And a lot of these things have been clicked in, which, again, goes back to these ideas, if you want to call them reports or leaks. As we point out, media members aren't spying on people. When these stories get leaked, it's because people inside the organization, maybe not the head coach, but they're upset about things. And they go to the media because they want to report stories because they don't want the blame put on them. And it's Luke Walton's friends that were leaking this because a lot of the stories that were in the report today we have heard.
Or because
Was it Rob Pelinka that you're talking about? Is it Rob Pelinka and other people within the Lakers organization? Who exactly were you talking about?
No, just Rob.
Yeah. And it sounds like Magic is doing his best to be Magic Johnson with a smile. Rob stabbed me in the back, so I left. Yeah, the other part of this report...
No, just Rob.
The other part of this report is it makes it pretty clear that, big shocker, the guy who's constantly smiling and sounds like the nicest, best guy ever also has a bit of a mean streak.